So learning and development, or L&D as it's called, is largely focusing on upskilling and reskilling and providing new skills for existing workforce. Right? In most cases, employers end up sponsoring these learning programs for the employees with an objective which is multifold. I think one of the key objectives that employers want out of the whole program is that they have to increase productivity of their workforce, or ensure that their deployment happens in the way they want it to be. So let me give you an example. Let's say there's a new tech stack an IT company is adopting, and they want their employees to ensure that they are skilled enough so that they can get deployed for that tech stack, or they can get deployed at a project. On the other hand, for example, let's say we take the retail or the BFSI sector, employers may want to make an investment in upskilling their workforce, their existing workforce, let's say at the entry level, the distributed sales workforce, to ensure that their sales productivity or this absolute sales numbers increase. So one of the key objectives employers look for is ensuring higher productivity. The other objective of making investments by employers in learning and development, or upskilling, reskilling, and new skilling of existing workforce is also ensuring that the retention is a lot higher. Because when employees believe that they are gaining something out of a partnership, out of an engagement with the employer, they end up actually staying back a lot more when they're learning, especially at the initial years, right? They want to upskill themselves. They want to actually keep doing newer things, newer projects, newer assignments, move from one role to the other role, newer markets, newer segments. Unless and until they get this opportunity of A, learning, and B, being able to deploy what they learn, the attrition for the employer end is very, very high. So I would say the two key outcomes that an employer would actually look for would be higher productivity and lower attrition whenever they're looking at making investments in learning and development. I will take this question into two parts, one being the pre-COVID scenario and the other being the post-COVID scenario. Pre-COVID, actually, it was quite tepid, where employees believed that it's not my duty to upskill, but it's the employer's duty to ensure that I upskill and I stay relevant in the industry and in the organization. Obviously, post-COVID, a lot of things have changed. One, staying relevant and agile has become absolutely key for everyone, not just for organizations, but for employers and employees as well. So I would say that things are moving in the upward and the right direction over the last few years, where employees believe that making investment in upskilling and learning by themselves is also very critical. Secondly, ensuring that they make the most of the learning programs that an employer is providing them. I have also seen an upward trend, right? The fact that I think the first 2 years post-COVID, the tech adoption was extremely high. Everybody wanted to, be digitally, be digitally there, ensuring that they understand technology, understand their adoption is very high, understand that they remain relevant and agile. Employees themselves started, making investments in their own skills. In fact, there was a report that we had released between the first and the second wave of COVID, where we realized that almost 85% of the workforce had actually taken at least one learning program through the last 12 to 18 months of COVID. Right? So we see that this is changing. Employers are also shifting from treating L&D budget as an investment as a cost what it used to be previously, right? So there is a shift on that side. Of course, what I get out of the learning program also becomes very critical, because if I'm not learning enough, if I'm not learning the way I wanted, right, I'm not going to be interested, and I'll actually just give it away halfway through. Let me give you a case in point, where if I'm just bringing in everybody into a classroom and physical classroom and saying, hey, now start learning together, right? It may not be as exciting as it used to be earlier, right? Employees are now looking at various ways and means of learning. The pedagogy of learning is changing itself, because I will have to look at necessarily bringing in technology enabled learning, digital learning, self learning, e learning, some physical classroom learning, some virtual instructor led learning. So, a combination of all of these are actually possible to do now, given the fact the way technology is supporting us, and also the reality that unless and until I do a combination of these programs, like you rightly said, attention span of viewers is very low, right? Attention span of learners has also come down. So we have to ensure that we bring in the right program, we bring in the right pedagogy, we bring in the right elements of learning. I think if we do it right, both from the employer's side, from our side, I would say that the response of employees and the engagement and involvement of employees in learning will surely shift, for the good. Typically, if any L&D leader views training, or any business leader views training as a tick mark, obviously it's not going to make the impact the employee or the employer is actually looking for. Okay, there has been some lacunas. I mean, okay, everyone should go into a first-time manager training, or everyone should go into finance or non-finance trainings, right? It cannot be so. We have to understand what the skill gaps are, and then create programs which would probably address those gaps, rather than just generally putting everyone into the same program. And I see that was the issue a couple of years ago. Now almost all L&D folks, all business leaders want to do the training need analysis, which I believe is a must, because unless and until I know where my gap is, what training program will become relevant for me will be immaterial. So doing a training need analysis will ensure that there is no lacuna in the set program that is being offered to the employee. When the TNA is done, the employee also realizes what their where they lack skills in. Because otherwise I would just walk into office every morning believing, hey, I've done my graduation, I've done my postgrad, I've done my engineering, I've got this job, I'm settled, I don't think I need any more skills, right? But the moment you start doing the training need analysis, the L&D folks, the employees, the trainers, everybody realizes what skill gaps are, and then programs can be customized basis the gap. I would not use the term personalize here, because personalized learning is something very different, but customization can clearly be done basis the training analysis and the skill gaps that one can identify from that program. So whenever L&D leaders get a budget from business now, for upskilling, reskilling, and providing new skills to the existing workforce, or maybe newer employees, the question always remains saying, what is going to be my return on investment? What's the ROI on the investment I'm going to make? I typically tell all leaders that, your returns are not going to be seen immediately. It always happens over a period of time. In fact, we recommend a lot of learning programs which are continuous in nature, which probably show an impact gradually, but eventually when there is an impact, it definitely would mean that there is a long-term impact and not just a short-term impact. Of course, there are various parameters. If I'm doing a sales training, can my sales increase, not tomorrow, but maybe over a week, 10 days, 1 month, 2 months kind of a point. Or let's say if I'm doing a tech stack training, can that employee be deployed and start becoming productive the moment the training gets over? So there are various parameters that employees view as a return that they could maybe look at. One, like I said, could be productivity, higher productivity over a period of time. Of course, learning cannot stand alone, make the difference. There has to be learning along with a couple of other variables that eventually start showing the difference. But yes, higher productivity for sure, lower attrition, deployment of workforce after training in certain projects, in certain fields, in certain tech stacks, as well as, let's say, if I'm bringing in a new set of people and I'm putting them through a training program, what is their time to productivity, or what is their time to going live, in any business or any project, right? So there are multiple parameters that employers actually look at. Like I said, all of this will eventually start becoming monetary in nature. So if I'm putting a set of people under training, how soon can they go live so that they become billable resources for me, right? Uh, Key parameters, because then I know that the training has made an impact. The client has approved the resources and I can put them into billing. Or if I'm putting people through a sales training or a communication skill training, all of those trainings actually start showing impact over a period of time. Higher sales, right? Better customer service, better employee retention, higher productivity. So lots of variables actually, Maruk, that one could look at. Of course, every organization that we speak to has a different lens on calculating the ROI on learning, but they definitely look at it. Some of them look at it in a monetary manner. Some of them look at it into a qualitative, way. But yes, outcomes in certain fashions clearly are defined in every organization. So given the fact that a lot of workplaces have become hybrid, I would say the first shift in learning would be that employees and employers don't want 100% physical training or 100% digital training. They want something which is a phygital or a hybrid form of learning. So a combination of physical classroom, virtual classroom, self-learning, self-assignments, assessments, even on-the-job learning, right? So I would say that is the first shift that we have seen, and it's only going to continue. It's not going to change anytime soon. The other aspect that we have seen as a shift is that while we create content and we create, let's say, even e-learning curriculum or self-learning curriculum, the pedagogy of those content creations has changed completely. You cannot now just ask somebody to read a PDF or read a PPT. It has to be engaging, it has to be personalized, it has to actually make an impact for me first before I learn and I ensure that the organization benefits. So obviously we've heard a lot about micro learning and bite-sized learning and using, let's say, chat GPT for learning and things like that. Obviously that shift has happened. People are using augmented reality, people are using artificial intelligence, virtual reality, right? Many organizations are making investments in the VR tools and techniques, in infrastructure, so that the employees learn almost almost as live sessions. I don't see that while even if I am teaching somebody English skills or communication skills, using technology is really the way forward for learning. Again, not saying that we're going to leave the learners to learn all by themselves, but maybe handhold learners, give them inputs, give them the direction, right? Make them learn. Also, the fact that I've seen over the last decade that all the employees who are coming into the workforce are very excited to learn new skills. So they want to make that investment, but they want to do it at their own time, space, whatever excites them. So I think as L&D folks, we have to ensure that we give that flexibility to the learners. Only then will the outcome actually come the way we want it to be. Otherwise, it's going to be very tepid, like you had indicated in the past.